I'm currently recording a course that teaches everything and more that I go into on this channel, and this video is not a plug for that at all. It's just that when you're building a course, one of the pieces of advice that you get is to really think about the person that you're talking to. Who is your ideal student, your ideal person that you're speaking through the camera to? And as I started to do that, I started to think a lot about this mid-career professional who is, working in a corporate job and lacks creativity, or is, stuck, in the job that they did after uni and all that kind of thing. And I had to stop myself, because that actually isn't me. That wasn't me. And so while those people, of course, are part of the people that I would like to address when I teach these things, I would also like to acknowledge and address the people like myself. So I won't go into it too much about my early days. I've done a wee bit of it before in another video, but when I left school, I basically just worked. I always worked since I was 13. I've had a job, and I was in a kitchen for most of that time, and I was a kitchen porter, and then I was a commie chef, and I was a head chef for a while, but I wasn't a fancy chef. It wasn't like a fancy restaurant where you got to make up all these new exciting dishes and all that. It was a slog. You basically went in and did 10, 11-hour shifts serving customers, and the food was nice. It was a nice place, and it was a great bunch of people. That's where I met my wife. It's, it really shaped me as a person. But when I was there, I was like a third as happy as I am now, maybe even a quarter, because I always wanted to do more things than that, and yet I did not know what to do. I did not know how to progress beyond that. And a big part of it, I suppose, was my wife. She was not obviously my wife at the time, but she could see in me that I wanted more from life, and I loved films and all that stuff. And the longer that I stayed in that role, in that job, the longer I just felt like, well, I've wasted this time now, and I've come too far. I could have been studying this whole time, but instead I've just been drinking, taking drugs, staying up all night. I did that for many, many years. And I think the thing that I've realized at that point was that, like, my bad habits, my drugs and alcohol dependencies, were kind of like, they used to make me feel creative. When we were in the pub and nipping out to smoke joints and drinking beers, we would talk about all these great film ideas that we wanted to make and everything, but we would never make them. We would never wake up in the morning and go, remember last night we said today we were going to do this? We never done that. That's just how that kind of lifestyle works. Instead, we woke up and went, oh my God, I can't believe I've got to work a 10-hour shift today. I only slept for 2 hours. And I did that for so long. It took such a toll on my body and on my mind. And you realize though that, like, when your default mode is that, it's very difficult to move a step forward, because you always feel like you're taking more steps back. And I don't know, I just wanted to, I know that there are people out there who are in the same predicament, and I wanted to speak to them. And it's not because I am now this huge success and I've turned my life around, and I take everything one step at a time, one day at a time. I'm not perfect. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not I've not achieved the greatest achievements of all, but I have managed to hit a place where I can take steps forward. And I always talk about this, steps forward, because it is really the only thing that you can do. Like, every time I make a video for this channel, to me that's a step forward. And every time I get a new client from a business, that's a step forward. Or I do a different type of film, That's a step forward to me. And I realized then, once, because I really, like, when I was in that place, in the kitchen, in the restaurant, I just thought that was my normal environment. But I realized then that I hadn't like just wasted my life. I hadn't wasted, my whole teens and 20s. I was just in the wrong environment, and I just needed to shift it to something else. And I got, a sign from the universe when the people who owned the restaurant, who kept my life very comfortable, not financially, I might add, but they kept it easy. I could work as much or as little as I liked. I usually worked all the time because I needed the money. But when they were going to sell the restaurant, these new people took over, and they were not nice people. And I went from working at a family restaurant where I was treated quite like family, to being someone who was kind of being questioned by these new corporate people and saying, why do you do this way, and we'll show you how you should be doing things. And if you've ever been in that situation where someone comes into your job and starts telling you how you should be doing it, you start getting affronted by that. Because even though I hated it, I took pride in my work. I used to feed people. I was very, I took a lot of pride in that. I took it very seriously when I was there. It might not have seemed like it, the amount of hours that I would sleep beforehand, but I was in my 20s. I couldn't do that now. And so that gave me an opportunity to get out, to leave. And I did. I just left one day. And I said to myself, like, I am going to give 110% to anything that will allow me to move into this new career, which is filmmaking. I don't know what that even looks like. I didn't know that you could do the kind of work that I do now. I didn't know that. I just knew that I needed to learn how to use this camera and somehow pay the bills with it. And that's what I did. And I didn't always have success straight away. I mean, well, not for years, but one of the things that I did when I left the restaurant to pay the bills, I always remember I chopped logs for this guy, and I used to get £8 an hour to chop logs. And I don't know if you've chopped logs for an hour. it's hard work. And to try and get any kind of decent amount of money, I had to absolutely destroy my body. And but when I look back at all that stuff now, all of that is character building. When I look at my kids now and I see how much little things that happen in life shape who they are, I realise that continues throughout. That goes on as we get older. It never stops. Everything that we've done makes us everything that we are. That's just a fact. And so I don't regret every late night. I was talking to someone yesterday, and he asked me what I achieved out of all the weed that I smoked in my life. And I said, I started off by saying, well, I had a lot of fun times and a lot of good experiences on it. And, I loved it for a long time. I loved watching films when I was high. I loved, doing kind of surreal things. I loved all that. And it kind of appealed to my humour, and it shaped my humour in a lot of ways. But I said, there are a huge list of things that it did wrong for me. And now my life is kind of just adjusted to deal with all that. It's not like, I regret any of that. That informs every decision that I make, whether I like it or not. And it's owning that and living with that and using that to move forward is what makes us, it helps us. It's like, rather than say, I'm going to scrap everything that I've ever done because that's no use to me and I wish I'd never done it. Instead saying, actually, all of that stuff might have held me back in so many ways, and it might have destroyed so many brain cells or wasted so many years of my life, but what it did give me is perspective. And that perspective is like so much more important than, going to uni for 3 years just because that's what you're supposed to do. Do you know what I mean? Am I making any sense? I haven't really planned this video at all. I just wanted to talk real just in case there's someone like me on the other side. Because, and this is not just about filmmaking or starting a film business or anything, it's about taking that next step, moving forward, and like being creative and like starting your own business, making films, even just learning new things. Like it doesn't demand that you have a perfect CV, like that you've had this perfect past. It actually is informed by whatever your past is. And that perspective that I'm talking about, that is the most important thing that you can have. I mean, my business means so much to me. Like when I got my first paid job, or when I made the first thing that I was really proud of, that was so huge for me. And I can't help feeling that it was even bigger for me than someone else, because I, for so long, never believed that I would even get to do that. Like that is a huge success for me, that I get to come in to this office, this amazing office. We've got a big studio upstairs. If you'd told me 10 years ago I'd have all this shit at my disposal now, like I wouldn't have believed you, maybe 15 years ago. But yeah, like making mistakes, pushing yourself to like uncomfortable limits in whatever way that is. You know, like the jobs that we do, I'm talking to people who are like the chefs or the laborers or the, you know, I don't know, plasterers, whatever. The people who are in a job who it feels so far removed from this like creative life where you can just like live with a camera and make a living with a camera and your personality and your own smarts. Like it feels so far from that, but like it's only a few steps. It really is. I don't think it's ever too late, right, to start like building something that you love and that you care about and respect. It's never too late to do that. And everything that you've done up until this point informs that thing. So don't look upon your past transgressions as like things that are going to hold you back anymore. If I could give you one bit of advice from my experience so far, I'm a work in progress every day. Don't drink anymore, don't smoke, don't do any drugs, sober guy, dad, all that kind of stuff. Like, if I could give you one bit of advice from my perspective, it's just don't let that past stuff be something that you regret and try and black out. Use that as your superpower. There's an expression, someone, I can't remember, online says, use your unfair advantage. And I always really like that because it kind of empowers us to say, you know, what we have isn't a waste. Like we didn't waste our time. We have an advantage no matter what it is. Like if you were homeless for 10 years and then you get a job, you get a house and you start to turn things around, you have an unfair advantage. You know what it's like to be at the fucking bottom of the tree. And like, I'm not comparing my situation to homelessness. I'm not, you know, I'm just trying to say everyone has their own journey and there is always a positive that you can take away from it. Always something that makes you better at dealing with a certain thing. And again, it's not about competition or anything. Your only competition is your own self, but use that. Use the stuff that's happened to you, that shaped you into who you are today. Because at the end of the day, it's all you've got. And this life is all that we get. So just go out there and keep stepping forward. Thanks for watching. I don't know if you made it to the end. I don't even know how long I've been talking for. 14 minutes.